Welcome along to the Ever So Lean podcast. I'm Matt Sims, and this is where we get into the real stuff that drive great leadership, high performance, and a thriving culture of continuous improvement. I chat openly and honestly with people who've been there and done it. The kind of leaders who create real impact, not just in numbers, but in the way their teams think, feel, and perform. If you're after honest insights, practical ideas, and conversations that challenge the way we lead, you're in the right place, because where people thrive, performance follows.
The Ever So Lean podcast
with Matt Sims. Because where people thrive, performance follows.
This episode is sponsored by the Lean Competency System, who are the world's leading improvement qualifications and community. The LCS helps improvement leaders to build capability and credibility, drive cultural change, and deliver measurable results by offering a globally recognised qualification framework and access to the world's leading professional improvement community. The benefits of LCS accreditation include building the right capability across your teams with a structured, professionally designed accreditation that embeds best practice improvement skills. Boost the credibility and recognition of your improvement work through a qualification framework developed at Cardiff University. Attract and retain top talent by offering clear development pathways, rewards, and professional recognition. Join a strong community of improvement practitioners, connecting you with peers to share insights, resources, and growth opportunities. Visit leancompetency.org to learn more. Welcome back to the Ever So Lean podcast. Now, if you're into real transformation, leadership that makes a difference, and improvement that sticks, you are most definitely in the right place. Today's guest, Iolanda Pereira, a serious force in Lean Six Sigma and transformation. With over 15 years of experience, she's led change across healthcare, global corporates, and manufacturing with impact you can measure. At Johnson & Johnson, she led a $3.36 million project to improve access to life-saving stroke treatment, recognised by the HSJ for its contribution to patient safety. Before that, at London Northwest University Hospital, she helped embed CI thinking across the board, training over 300 staff and delivering major cost and care improvements. Her work at BHR drove over 39 million, yes, I did say 39 million in cost savings. And at APM Terminal, she helped recover over 2 billion in revenue while shifting the culture to high performance and boosting productivity by 80%. Today, she runs her own consultancy, helping organisations build capability, culture, and real operational excellence. She's all about people-led change, inclusion, and leadership that actually walks the talk. And somehow, amongst all of that, she manages to balance being a full-time mum as well. We're going to talk culture, systems, sustaining change, and what it really takes to lead improvement that lasts. Iolanda, welcome to the Ever So Lean podcast.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much for having me.
You are most welcome. Now, we've tried to have this conversation about 5 times, but everything, meteors landing on our homes, everything's gone on and prevented us. So I'm just so pleased that we're actually here at last.
Yeah, same. And I actually find those moments that are the most memorable. So I'm sure that in 20 years' time, you still remember me and I'll still remember you.
Yeah, but there's a good reason to remember people and a bad way to remember people. You're going to think that, Matt, like everything that went on, it's just been a nightmare.
We managed to adapt. Right? It's all what Lean Six Sigma is about. Things happen. It's not actually a failure. It's an opportunity. So we go around it, so I love it.
It's been an opportunity. It's cost me an absolute fortune because I've had to replace most of the things in my house whilst we've been doing it.
I'm sure your family is happy about the new items.
So we had to replace our dishwasher a couple of weeks ago. But in our house, my son loads the dishwasher and then my daughter unloads it. That's like their chores that they do equally. And the other day they were moaning and whinging about doing it. And I was going, listen, I've just bought you a brand new shiny dishwasher. There's not many children out there that get a nice new dishwasher to load and unload. Don't be so ungrateful. If my neighbours could have heard, they must be thinking, God, he's a bit harsh. Very lucky, aren't they, eh?
I
Very
really want to
lucky.
use that line with Raphael when he grows up. Maybe at 2 years old is too young for now, but maybe in a year or two, who knows?
Yeah. No, anyway, let's move on very quickly before I get
Yes.
myself in trouble. Okay, let's move on. Honestly, you have done so much, and the numbers speak for themselves. And I said this to Anil Matthew in episode 1 when he came on and spoke a little bit about healthcare and lean. I think there is no greater example of lean having an impact than in healthcare, because you are literally dealing with people's lives. It's incredible.
It is. And that's one of the things I'm most passionate about. Not only the Lean Six Sigma in itself, but actually what it means in healthcare. And like you said, the first podcast you had with Anil from Lean Enable is still doing a great job at Lean Enable. And the amount of work on apprentices that is empowering people to really bring those tools, that continuous improvement mindset, which on the long run, it's my mom, it's someone's aunt, it's someone's son. So that's what I'm most passionate about. And one of the reasons I joined the NHS. So the last few years working with continuous improvement and transformation teams in NHS, that's what really drove me to work for NHS, is the impact it has not only on the staff, but actually ultimately on the long term is the patient. They are the ones receiving this care, and the patient, it's us, it's all of us.
Yeah.
So it's important we do that.
Yeah, so you got two hats on when you're there. You're in as a consultant supporting to drive change, but you're also an end user as well.
Exactly. Yes. So, and that's the part that perhaps I leave my job in a way, because whenever I go to appointments or I'm helping anyone within their appointments, hospitals, I always have my Lean Six Sigma hat. I'm looking around like excited. Oh, maybe we should change this. And I just start asking questions. And actually, when I do my consultation, when I go on the trust, go on site, those are the tools and the mindset I bring in. It's just that being curious and trying to really understand, because at the end of the day, it's not just about providing value to the company, it's to the staff, it's to the patient, it's to me.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, whatever community I'm working on, if there's, let's just say, the patient flow for ED is improved, we're meeting the 4-hour target. That means actually, if someone in my family or friends are getting sick and going to ED, they're most likely going to be seen sooner. So I always put it into the picture like that. And that's why I love what I do.
That's a great mindset. It's a really good way of thinking about it. I did a keynote for NHS England last year. You only ever see the negative stuff about NHS. You know, you hear about the pay, you hear about the conditions, you hear about the waiting lists for patients. They get such a negative portrayal to the general public. And I spent all day with this group of folks, and they were so caring and so passionate about improving their workplace. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, if I could bottle this and get this onto the bad news so everyone could see it and see what's really going on, I think people would be so much more supportive of the work they do. It must be so hard knowing whatever you do, you're going to get flogged for it anyway.
And you're completely right. And that's one thing I've noticed when I was working in NHS as a member. So I've worked as a permanent staff in NHS. You could really tell that people care. So obviously you have one or another that maybe they just wanted to move on. But that's like 1%, if not less.
Yeah.
But actually, the main base, they really care, and they go the extra mile, not being paid the extra for that. You know, there's extra hours, but other people that are working there, consultants, they do really go extra mile. The nurses on the ward, when I was working with them doing the 5S or the Gemba walks, they really go the extra mile. And unfortunately, what happens is bad news always travel fast. The good news or the hard work, it doesn't as much. And sometimes as a patient, if I put myself as a patient, if someone is not seeing me quickly, I'm in pain. Why are they not doing anything? Actually, in the background, there's so much happening. And it's sad what's happening with the NHS England, but I've seen that coming along the years. So we had CSU, so the Commission Support Units, the PCT. So they keep changing, right? So all these NHS institutions, they keep changing. The way I wanted to look at it is not people losing certain positions, or is actually opening up other doors, because those individuals really care about the work and they have a knowledge of the system that no one will be able to take that away from them, because they lived throughout all these years. So they can put that into practice. I'm really hoping, I am quite sure what's going to happen. New institute is going to come up where at least these talented people will come in. Again, 8 ways, right? To be able to use the right talent. We cannot just not use that talented people. They are very talented. Yeah. We just need to find another way to bring them back.
You got a great way of putting things. And it's that, like, you're spot on, that knowledge of that talent, that experience, you can't replace that. Can't be bought, that can't be swapped. It is there and they are the people with it. So you're right. With change comes opportunity. And I think you're right. I went to the pharmacy near where I lived the other day, and I went in to ask if they had anything for a sore throat, like just general like sweets that you suck or something like that. Yeah. She went, "Have you had it checked?" I said, "No." She said, "Would you like to have it checked?" I was like, "Yeah, okay." And the pharmacist took me into this little room. She did a full inspection of my throat. She went, "You've got tonsillitis. Here's some antibiotics." And I was like, my God, I couldn't get a doctor's appointment when I tried. Yet you can do this in here. Why didn't I know this? And it was amazing. Like the customer focus from the moment you went in the door to the moment you left. Like it was such a great experience. I mean, as far as having an illness and going to get medicine for it. I always like the way they say, "Do you pay for your prescriptions?" Like you've got a choice. Like I could go, "Oh, no, I don't. I'm not today, thank you." Right, anyway, let's get into our subject today, right? Let's talk. So we're going to talk about driving operational excellence and transformation leadership and empowerment across multiple sectors. Because I think this is something that people often get stuck on in their minds, is they think Lean or Lean Six Sigma is so industry specific. You know, it only works in manufacturing. It only works if you've got oodles of data and all this sort of stuff. And I often say to people, but you can do it anywhere. It really doesn't matter what you do. And you are the expert of high impact transformation. So in that role today, I always say it's all right for someone else to call you an expert, but you should never refer to yourself as an expert.
That is true. That is true.
That's like going, "I'm really good looking. I'm really handsome." What do you think? You don't do that.
I've come across people who do that, which is quite funny.
You just die a little bit inside, don't you, if you come across that? No, I can't stand that. Right, so come on, share with me about your approach to leading large teams through transformation projects, and how do you do it?
So I would say that it's almost, I love giving stories when I'm explaining something. So what I would say is the same way that when you're introducing someone to your family, a partner to your family, you listen, you care, you genuinely care about the person coming in and ask loads of questions. That's how you start a transformation. Unless you show genuine care that you wanted to know that person, that individual, the culture, the systems, why should they give you any time of the day? So before starting any transformation, I just want to be part of the gang, basically. Try to understand as much as I can about the personal and professional background. Try to understand what are the pain points, what have they done in the past, what has worked or not, and then build a relationship. Because again, transformation, everyone is a bit resistant when it comes to change, unless you bring them along the journey. So if you bring them along the journey, try to make that connection from the beginning, then there's less resistance down the line. So imagine you bring, I don't know, when you brought your partner to your friends, she probably was interrogated by your friends. So what do you do? Who's your family? Why? Because they care. And that's what the interrogation in a nice way, obviously not with a gunpoint.
Yeah.
Asking questions, genuine questions, trying to understand the other person. Oh, I feel valued. They wanted to listen to me. Again, voice of the customer, right? Yeah. So that's how you start building the relationship. And until this very day, so simple things as one of my first CEOs back in the APM terminals, he's now retired. Simple thing as he told me what is his favorite animal. Penguin. He probably, I will tell him about this podcast. It's like, oh, you still remember? I will remember every single thing. Date of birth of the kids, special events. Wow. You create a relationship. And by doing that, you're creating a trust. So when people trust you, most likely they will follow you. So that's how I start any type of initiation in transformation, change, or anything like that.
The key thing you said then was, I feel valued. People feel valued. Joe was really interested. I'm sitting here listening to you saying, and everything you said, I completely agree with. Then I think about the people that lead our country or lead any country, and I think they are delivering transformation. Right? That's what they're there to do. They don't do any of those things. They don't earn your trust. They don't make you feel valued. They are the epitome of what poor transformation looks like.
Yeah. And I guess it's also to go into that, it could be that they have such influence. So I agree, they should be listened to, to the community. But then again, that's what votes are for, right? They are listening to, what they should stand for. But is how you're telling a story. Again, it's going back to creating those relationships and how you're telling the story to your audience. So when I create a transformation, try to understand the problem and try to create a story. So the way I'm going to tell a story to someone in finance will be completely different for nurses. With finance, I'll use a lot of data because I know they love that. With nurses, will be more practical. Again, you need to match your language, your approach, and body language to who you're talking to. And I have a really funny example of this. So nowadays in healthcare, I can put the gown, the scrubs, and all that. In the shipping industry, I had to wear helmets and boots. And in fact, because it was such a new environment to me when I first joined, and I wanted to set an example, lead by example, right? So I needed to increase the productivity of cranes for the vessels, for the shipping vessels. And I proposed some training. So how can I propose some training if I don't know how to operate a crane for myself? So obviously I took the challenge. I was 20 something. I was like, no, it's fine. I'll take it. I'll just put the boots, the helmet. Matt, I forgot I didn't have trousers. I had a dress. I was very girly at that time. And I learned my mistake. I did go up the crane. I'm not going to back out now, right? But that's such an example. If I'm asking others to get trained, I will set the example. I will do that. Obviously, I ended up having other jumpsuits and trousers loads on my cabinet, but that made such a story. And I used that going forward when training the operators and people on the vessels and the trucks. That connected us. Again, it's all about how you tell your story to connect with that person. It's not about me, it's about that person. So how can I show to that person that what they care about is the important part, make them feel valued, tell me how I can help them. I'm just there to break the barriers, that's all. I'm empowering them to do the change. So it's all about them.
That's brilliant. And I cannot say how much that approach is bang on because I've been the person that's tried to do change on people or to people rather than involving them, just because I've got a roadmap that I've committed to. I've had it signed off that I'm going to deliver X number of million this year, so I've gone in there, bull in a china shop, I will change this. And you walk into someone's work area and they've been doing that job for 10, 15 years, and you suddenly tell them everything they've been doing is wrong and you're now going to do it this way. And then I was surprised when they didn't do what I asked them to do. It's silly, isn't it? It's common sense.
But it's common sense, but unless some people train us to do that, sometimes we wouldn't know, right? So I had an amazing line manager at the time. Some people will call him a bit crazy because he was such a genius. He was very eccentric, and Adi is his name. I love you to bits, Adi. I'll make sure that you listen to this. But, the truth is, I learned so much with him. He always made sure that if I wanted, I need to know it myself. So sometimes during weekends, I would have to be on the yard collecting primary data on how many times the containers have been moved from one place to another. Matt, I would be spending hours under the sun, 35, 37, with lotion and 2 bottles of water because I needed to be hydrated. But what that taught me is, it's not just about me learning how to collect data and seeing the process by myself, but it's also putting myself in the shoes of those truck drivers because what they're going through. So how can I know about the process if I'm not going through the process myself? And if we come back to NHS, to healthcare, it's exactly the same thing. One of the reasons why the mechanical thrombectomy project, the one that has been awarded by HSJ as the most commended, was so important to me was also my mum suffered from strokes. So I knew from a patient experience what that looked like and what it felt. I translated that into the workplace. And that's one thing I always bring to the table is, if you're trying to create a process, what does that mean to the person receiving the care or the service? And we ask the patient or potential patient about this, and also the staff, because support, what does that process mean for that staff? And that's really key on all of this. Process, tools, data, they're very good. Yes, gives you a structured way, but it's about the people. And you need to ask them both, the staff and the patient or the client, depending on what is your organization.
People are the biggest variable that you're going to have in any change, aren't they?
Yes.
Always. In anything, any industry, any process, anything, the biggest variable are people because we have our own will and our own minds.
Exactly. And that's why I feel that Lean Six Sigma has built their structure, the pillars on respect for people, right? Because it is the people that brings the change, that can sustain change. Unless we provide focus on the people, because they are the variable, you're completely right. Unless we tailor our approach to each individual, how can we make sure that whatever project we're working is successful? It needs to be about the people.
Well, it has to be. And it very quickly falls down. If you don't have the people involved, you might as well just give up now because it's never going to happen, is it? And I've been in that. I spent years of my life banging my head against a brick wall to try and deliver change when ultimately it was me that needed to change. I needed to change my approach, but the organization wouldn't let me change my approach. It was very much a top-down, we change you sort of approach, and it didn't work. And it became frustrating. And eventually the people that really believed in Lean and Six Sigma, they left and they went to work for organizations that did it properly.
Yeah. And you see that happening a lot is when things are mandated. People feel like they're being told to. It's almost like having a toddler. And I know I'm just a new mom right now, right? He's only 2. But one thing I've noticed with Raphael, if I tell him, no, Raphael, don't do that, he will give me the cheeky smile and probably will just go and do it. But if I give him the option, either this, A, or B, which one?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
It's the same thing at work.
But the word mandate, it automatically gets you back up.
Exactly.
Bang, no way, I'm not doing it. Do you know, my youngest is 2 and she refers to herself as Coco. And I don't know why. She's always called herself Coco. Her very first words were Coco, and she talks about herself in the third person. Anyway, she crawling up the stairs the other day and she turned around. She's about 5 stairs ahead of me and she went, she calls me Bubba. She went, Bubba, can't catch Coco. And I went, I'm going to catch you. And as I went upstairs, she closed the stair gate so I couldn't get up. I was undoing the stair gate. I looked at her, she turned around, no word of a lie, on both hands. She flicked me the bird. She's going like this at me on the stairs. My daughter had taught her to do it, and she's doing it with the wrong fingers, so it doesn't look too offensive. She's going like that. But it's the awareness and the cheek of like knowing when to do that kind of thing. But you're so right. If I tell her that she's going in the car and I'm going to put a seatbelt on her, it will be a battle. There'll be screaming, there'll be fighting, there'll be kicking, it'll be embarrassing. All the neighbours looking at the windows. If I say to her, right, we're going out now, what we got to do first? And then she'll go, oh, we'll get in the car. And then I'll say, okay, what do we do when we get in the car? And then she'll say, seatbelt. I say, show me how you do it. And then she tries to do it and I do it up. It gets the end result that I want. It might take a little bit longer than it would if I was in control and I just went bang, bang, bang. But she's on board, she understands the process, and then she does it because if she wants to do it.
She's providing the solutions herself. You're just guiding with the right questioning. And she's providing solutions so she feels more likely to do it. And that's what I honestly feel, that every single organization, a good leader is not creating the solution, is empowering their teams to the solution, asking the right questions and just being there as a safety net. If something goes wrong, I'm here to protect you. I'm here to help you, but asking the right questions. And again, it's the same with kids. Just ask the question or even just, let them make the decision. They're most likely going to follow.
I always feel reluctant to make the comparison to children because I always feel like it might be a little bit, it sounds like you're saying you're treating people like children, but it's not. It's just that same, you want to achieve an end goal, but there will be friction if you demand. Nowadays, 2 of my children have got they're on the spectrum. So I think, they have a demand issue. So if you demand something of them, they just physically then cannot bring themselves to do it because it's been demanded of them. Going through airport security is horrendous because they're demanding that they put their stuff on the side and demanding they walk through this little archway. Well, they're not doing it.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks that the child's misbehaving and they're out of control when it's actually an issue for them.
It's human nature. Because even us as grown-ups, the same thing. If my partner goes to me, Yolanda, can you iron my shirt? Excuse me? Like, you're telling me to do it? So, could you? I have to do that. There's a different approach. It's the same. It's human nature. Human nature, we don't like to be told. We want to participate in the conversation to feel valued. If you don't feel valued, why should I just follow like a little sheep? A lot of people don't like that. You have some, but not everyone is like that.
I should just say that you did just say follow like a little ship, not a little shit,
Oh.
because it could be misconstrued. Well, I'm sure both do apply.
I have to say my Portuguese accent will go in a way. It gives a bit of flavor, a little bit of flavor.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really nice. It makes it feel like we're in a nice, warm environment. It's really good.
Literally having a conversation, two people having conversation, showing what do I want, what I don't, what do you want, and then both together end up to a conclusion.
Exactly.
So it's literally guiding a conversation where the end goal, most likely the same, is just sometimes you need to ask the right question.
It's respect. It's basic respect, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're going to impact someone's environment, it's just basic respect to have a conversation with them beforehand.
Yeah.
Because it's so much easier when they're on your side.
Respectful people.
Yes. There you go. Rule number 1, done. Okay. So how then do you go about building and sustaining cultures of continuous improvement? So you've got through that first bit. You've actually delivered change with the people, and now you want to make sure it's sustained. And you might be working in environments where there's multiple different generations in there who receive information in different ways. You might even be working with multiple different languages where people are all from different parts of the world, different cultures, which make it even more difficult.
It's almost the same as the first question, the answer I gave, which is being genuine and that continuous communication. You need to continue to be interested and talk to people. But it's not just about you. You at this point have already identified some sponsors, some people who think alike. You have the same mindset. So instead of being just one person talking about the change and sustaining, it's multiple people. So the tools will be already there. Right? We have the tools on how to sustain the structure. So everything's been standardized. You have refreshers of training. Those are easy things to do. You can put that in a company. Now, the hardest part is how to get everyone still excited about it to continue. So to bring that, it needs to be part of the culture. So how can you bring continuous improvement, that change or whatever it was as part of the culture? You need to make it fun. At the end of the day, if you make it fun, something that people want to do, people will do it. And you need to understand each person has different reasons to do something based on the culture, based on sometimes actually the profession itself. Again, you will have to tailor each approach to each different person. And if you have actually fun doing it, it's not going to feel like a job. It's like, oh, let me just quickly chat. I'm going to give a call. So how's it going? Oh, I have this, or I'll connect you with so-and-so. Let's put everyone together. Oh, if I know someone loves chocolates, I love sweets. So I'll be like, oh, I have loads of sweets. So how's that going? How's that EPR implementation? Make it an informal review, a conversation with a friend, and to keep talking about it. People cannot forget about the change that has been implemented, regardless what it is. Either it's creating a continuous improvement culture, or it's actually a digital implementation, the EPR, and also get top down, lead by example, right? They need to speak the same language. So no one can assume that the CEO or finance director agrees with certain principles. They need to show up and talk about it, make it visible. Before leaders are showing that they care about a certain topic, most likely everyone else will try to follow the same footsteps. Constant reminders, the communication, the conversations are very, very important to create enthusiasm. Because there's this graph where it shows that everyone keeps being very excited about something really quickly, and then starts dying down, and then it's gone. So how can you pick it up? You need to find strategies. And sometimes it could be a workshop. So, I know, Matt, you have loads of workshops, which is amazing. So every company should, sign up to Matt.
Come again. You're welcome back.
So every company should have a workshop where, as part of their team building, right, some part of those fun activities, it is actually to talk about certain main focus of what is being implemented. Either is the culture or a new system that put in place, and actually review it. So after something's being implemented in NHS, or let's say the patient digital records, has anyone gone back to review, is it working both for patient and the staff? Are people continuously reviewing the progress and asking the question, not just quantitative, but qualitative, having those interviews to understand, is it still reliable? That's how you keep on people's mind what you're putting in place. Does it work? Doesn't work? Just to keep making sure that it's sustained. In a nutshell, communication. Yeah.
But it's so important, and it's so easy when you're the person responsible for change. It can be, and even if you're a project manager or a program manager, you can get so swept up in the wave and excitement of wanting to deliver and wanting to do well that you can forget that communication piece, or you can make the mistake of blanket communicating to everybody in exactly the same way, like you said before.
Still to come on the Ever So Lean podcast.
Made loads of mistakes along the way.
How have you found going between these different industries?
The doer should have a leadership mentality.
No, it's the same.
It's just a mindset. It's how you structure your mind on how to approach life.
You don't train a culture. It just doesn't happen.
Everything in my personal life, I apply Lean Six Sigma nowadays. So
I want muscles. Can I have it by Friday? Well, what is your religion? Lean.
Want to take your leadership, team performance, and business transformation to the next level? Then it's time to think differently. At Ever So Lean, we do game-changing leadership development, high-performance coaching, and continuous improvement that delivers real impact. Trusted by businesses worldwide, endorsed by industry leaders, and recognized for excellence. We deliver industry-recognized programs, dynamic workshops, powerful keynote talks, and expert coaching to help businesses and individuals unlock their full potential. With lean thinking and a people-centric focus, we reshape the way people think, lead, and perform. Visit www.eversolean.com, because where people thrive, performance follows.
Are you ready to elevate your team's ways of working? Are you seeking fresh insights and growth opportunities? Our experts will assess your team's practices, providing valuable insights for improvement and celebration. Reward and recognise your team with this certification tailored specifically for creating an improvement culture. The BQF Academy accreditation acknowledges your journey, outstanding outcomes, and future plans. Whether you utilise Lean, Six Sigma, project management, or continuous improvement techniques, this certification celebrates your incredible work and positive impact. Propel your team's performance to new heights with the BQF Team Excellence Culture Certification. Visit www.bqf.org.uk today and let's celebrate your success together.
13-time Shingo Prize winner Dr. Jeffrey Leiker and Toyota Kata author Mike Rother have created the Improvement Kata and Coaching Kata online course. This inexpensive, compact program is designed to transform your thinking and approach, making you a highly skilled learner and coach. Engage in deliberate practice to turbocharge your progress. You also get lifetime access to the materials, including all of the bonus interviews. Why pay up to 10 times the price elsewhere, listening to some consultant, when you can gain direct insights from the masters themselves? Skip the rest and go with the best. Join us today and embark on your journey to excellence. Just click on the link below to start your journey.
So a practical example would be, so before I start any project, there needs to be in place a strategy and a plan on the communication part. So there's the work itself, the implementation, all the works, but there's another work stream is the communication, not just pre and during the project, but actually afterward. How is it being communicated? Newsletters, comms, that's really key. That's how you also sustain. You need to keep on people's mind and see if it's still useful.
So keeping them informed. So if you've engaged them beforehand and you've built up the buzz, you've got the excitement, they're really into what you want to achieve, they're kind of owning it and they're empowered to do it. If you suddenly then don't provide any updates after the change has been made, that goes back to that respect piece again. It's kind of a little bit, if you was a customer, if you was at home and you was having your fridge freezer repaired and they ordered a part and they said they'll let you know when it arrives, and 3 days later you've not heard anything, you're having to chase them up for answers. As the customer and the user of that equipment, I'm not very happy. And it would be the same in the workplace, wouldn't it? They'd be like, why is no one telling me what's going on? Are we doing well? Have we achieved what we set out to achieve?
is that two-way communication. And that, unfortunately, still happens more often than it should. In NHS in particular, there's either consultations or anything like that. Sometimes people are so busy that the communication after a project has been completed is forgotten or they don't have the time for it. So that's why in the beginning of the project, as much as we can to automate some of this communication is going out, the same way we are communicating to the top leaders, actually the communication of everyone that's been involved on the ground floor, it should pass on. So a lot of feedback I had received in the past in terms of certain consultations or changes in the process was that why should I provide an input now when the project is over and done with? I don't even know where we are. And those are real genuine conversations where people feel left out, that they felt used at the beginning of a project, but at the end, no one remembers them. And that goes back, like you said, to respect for people. It's involving throughout, not just for a project, but actually maintaining that relationship. 2 years down the line, you're probably you have to work with them again somewhere else and maybe another company. So why not?
Well, it's your legacy, isn't it, as well?
Exactly,
the legacy that you leave behind.
Yeah.
Do you think it's really important to put mechanisms in place to allow people to feedback all the way through?
Yes, and there's different ways you can create in terms of mechanisms, right? So in the NHS, what we used a lot is for every single project I've worked with, I always had the communication team. I had someone representing the communication team that I had to work with us. Now, for example, on the apprenticeships and trainings that I provide, when coaching individuals, I always say this, you need someone from finance, HR, data, and comms. This in terms of communication, but actually, you need someone from other roles too that sometimes you are not gonna, realize. In healthcare, I always advise get the porters involved. I know it might seem like they don't have much influence. They have more influence than people realize. Porters are like, and PAs, medical secretaries. Oh, you need to make friends with all of them. Honestly, it's like I always keep coaching the people I work with. You need to make friends with. They know more than sometimes they let on. And actually, they will give you the best strategy in terms of what is the best way to communicate different individuals and the approach. Clinicians, they're not going to look at emails. I actually have been talking to someone recently about a project that she's doing. And one of the struggles they are having is getting clinicians to respond to emails. And I said quite bluntly, they're not going to respond to emails. The best way to connect, get their PAs or medical secretaries, get friends with them, to pass on the information. And on the theaters, they have a break room. You just stay there until they come out and say, hi, how are you? Every person is different. You need to find an approach to each individual.
But it's like those people in the hardware stores when you're trying to get out the door and they go, oh, can you stop your windows? You need your windows replaced. It's like, leave me alone. But I think it's the same approach with senior leadership in all organisations, though. Many of them have secretaries, executive assistants, etc. Get in with them and build relationships with them because they manage the diaries, they manage the time of the senior leaders, and they've probably got a lot going on. I'm so glad you said porters a minute ago, by the way, because I had a feeling you were going to say patients. And I had this envisioning this room where you're running this event, this change event, and then suddenly Mrs. Smith's wheeled in with her bed and her bedpan. She's in for some kind of kidney transplant or something, and you've got her in there. What's your opinion on this?
So we do have patient representatives actually for the patient experience in NHS, which is amazing. I love that. I'm not sure if every single trust has, but definitely BARS and BHRUT, they have it. I've worked with them, and that's the best thing they could have done. So every transformational digital project, they'll get a patient representative to talk about what would it mean for them as a patient. And so for you to become a patient representative, there's a long formal process. They've been all around for years, so they've been part of the community, part of that hospital. So they will really give you honest feedback, and sometimes they will challenge. This is not for us, and that's important. That challenge is important.
You need that.
Yeah, but the internal projects, more the digital side in terms of making sure that people follow the process. some of the projects you can involve the patient, others it'll be too deep into the detail of the process. So you need to see also what type of stakeholders to involve in each one of them.
And you could involve different ones at different stages as well. They don't have to be
Exactly.
the whole thing.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. You look at the framework, and the framework says you do this, the framework says you do that, and you end up going, right, we must do it this way. And I think sometimes people are a little bit apprehensive. That framework is exactly what it is. It's a framework. It's not a verbatim, you do it like this, and that's the end of it.
That's why I honestly do not enjoy or think is beneficial off the top of, what is the right saying? So basically, already made programs or trainings, it needs to be bespoke and tailored. You can have the framework, you can have the structure, but always tailor it to what you're doing and who you're working with.
But that said, though, I'm going to ask you a question now. Mm-hmm. The fundamentals are transferable. Like, how have you found going between these different industries? Have you found it quite easy to transfer the skills and the ways you're working? Does it work across everywhere you've been?
Everywhere. So Lean Six Sigma, you can apply definitely in every single industry, from on cranes, working with the people driving cranes and trucks, to actually doing a mechanical thrombectomy, where is to avoid a stroke, to actually, which I've seen it, which was quite graphic, is the hip replacement and knee replacement. How is that process done? Length of stay, or even the hospitality side, how you attend to the customer service, or even the inventory. I can apply it at home. How I'm making my food for my toddler. Like, I literally apply it, like, let me find a structured way. This is this. Like, you can apply everywhere. How I put my wardrobe, like color-coded, maybe too much information, but color-coded, like this is work, this is outside. So you can apply, it's just a mindset. It's how you structure your mind on how to approach life. That's how I would say Lean Six Sigma is. And you have the soft tools and the hard tools. There's some that are for the qualitative side, to visual ones, and others is the analytical one. So you have all the tools there. It depends then on the person what tool to select from that framework and what to apply depending on the stakeholders.
Interesting. And then all of that is supported first and foremost by the communication, by the respect for people, the engagement, the relationship, general good leadership. You're looking for great leadership.
And good leadership really is about how you respect the people. How are you able to communicate, which means how are you able to influence and guide? And how are you able to provide that security also? If something goes wrong, people feel it's okay to go wrong, because actually it's an opportunity. Is that safety, psychological safety?
Yeah.
A good leader needs to provide that to the team. And the tools, today I'm talking about Lean Six Sigma, but it could be any tool. Theory of constraints, Prince 2. The tools itself are great, but what is really great is the other soft sides, where is respect of people, how you're dealing with people, how you're working with people as a person, as a human being.
I get asked a lot, we talk about lean thinking and lean, implementing lean and continuous improvement. And then on the other hand, people talk about leadership and they think it's one and the other. And I'm so often having that conversation where I'm saying, but it's not, it's the same. It's exactly the same thing. It's just about how you word it and how you frame it. And people get stuck thinking they have to do I focus on my leadership or do I focus on my lean thinking? No, it's the same. I think sometimes people get put off by the names and the words and the framework.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes people focus too much on like you said, the words, the terminology. And it's actually, that's why for me, there's no such a thing as the right training. I love Lean Six Sigma. I'm passionate. I don't think I will ever move to a job that I'm not using Lean Six Sigma. But that said, you can use any methodology if you use with the right mindset. Consistency, flexibility, it's really important. And that's why I love Lean Six Sigma so much, because it really involves those core values, those core principles on respect for people, on how, on the leadership. And the leadership shouldn't be just the person leading. In fact, the doer should have a leadership mentality, because that's how work progress.
Yeah.
There's no point of me having a team if my team is not full of leaders. Everyone needs to be leaders in their own right. And that's important too. So back to your question, leadership is part of everything what we do. Lean leadership is all into one. It really is all into one.
Yeah, leadership mentality is a great way of putting it as well. Everybody should think like a leader, because that's what
Exactly.
it's all about. So sometimes, and I've had this quite a lot, sometimes you are getting pushed by the powers that be to deliver quick short-term benefits. Bang, 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 bang. They haven't got time to wait. We need it now. We need it now. In your experience, how do you balance those short-term wins with long-term strategic goals? It's a real fine art.
It really is. And that's something I had to really, really learn along the way. As you can tell, I made loads of mistakes along the way, which I'm really proud because it turned the person I am today.
Exactly.
So what I would say is sometimes you just have to say no, right? Sometimes the no is really difficult because you, again, balance art. You need to, one, within the short and long term, sometimes you just need to be quite resilient. And even though it's not a quick win, but wait for the longer term. But sometimes actually you need to have the quick wins to gain the commitment of the people you're working with. So again, it depends what is your strategy in terms of for the company and for the team. If the strategy for the team or the company is to create a continuous improvement culture, sometimes those quick small wins should be a priority because people want to see straight away impact they can commit to the long term. However, let's be honest here, to create a culture of continuous improvement, you will not reach that in within 1, 2, 3 years. It takes time. Simply does take. And it needs refresh, not just training. I've seen companies that trained everyone and then, oh, but why is that there's the culture is still not there? Like there's no continuous improvement projects. Yes, you need to create the culture, but then you have refreshers, workshops. There's so much more involved. So a company that really wants to achieve that, either, which some of the companies I worked with, they're doing that, is either hire someone permanently or a consultant to now and again work with them based on their vision goals. Because if you just do a one-off, I can guarantee within 2, 3 years it was going to fail. I have been in a position where with APM terminals, I've received the training and I had to provide the training within the company. It's continuously. Within NHS, we had someone externally to come from America, Virginia Mason, and we had also the capacity inside where I had the KPO and the transformation team. That's why it was embedded. The companies that were just a one-off, they didn't sustain it for too long. You need that constant reminder. Again, communication, those relations, it needs to be constantly there. Otherwise, people forget, right?
Yeah, exactly. And we should be really clear. You cannot train a culture. You don't train a culture. It just doesn't happen. It's like going to the gym and saying, I want muscles. Can I have it by Friday? You can't, you've got to do the hard yards. And, it isn't a culture until people are doing it without even saying it to them. It's the way we do it.
Exactly.
That's a culture.
Exactly. And I think that's why I say now, I can 100% that Lean Six Sigma, it's my life, because everything in my personal life, I apply Lean Six Sigma nowadays. So I know it's part of my culture now. But you're completely right. You don't train a culture. The culture is a knockoff effect of all the training, of all the work, of all the leadership mindset work that's been happening. It's just the culture happens with a lot of work. So it's not a one-off. And so it is important to realize that, yes.
When you fill out those, most forms that you fill out now online or wherever, and it always says to you, what is your religion? And they drop down and you choose which one you want. I'm desperate for them to put lean in there. So I say, well, what is your religion? Lean. I want to go to Sunday Mass about lean. All right, where we go there and we celebrate lean and we tell stories about where we failed and how the great Jeffrey Liker once went and did this and the great Paul Akers did that. I
think that would be more important than actually trying to understand what religion is.
Yeah, but can you imagine? Can you imagine, though? Because it is very much like a religion, because it's the way you live your life. It's the way you choose to live. And if you want your organization and your people and everyone who works within that environment to adopt that way of working, they've got to understand why they're doing it. They've got to understand, why they're doing it. They've got to understand when they're doing it. And they've got to understand how they're doing it. Because if they don't know those three things, it will never become you cannot pencil it 100 people through a quick training course and go, we've now got a lean culture. Bang, we've done it.
No, that definitely wouldn't happen. And again, I was quite fortunate that I've worked in companies that very much focus in lean across the world. Like I've been sent to Bahrain, everywhere, like literally everywhere. And I 100% stand by this. You cannot get a culture like willing just by one off a checkpoint, like a checklist.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that. It's literally a side effect, for better terms, a symptom. When you invest in your people with the right tools, with the right environment, with the right mindset, also a leadership mindset. So without realizing, it becomes part of the culture. It's the same thing. If we go to Portugal right now, part of the culture of Portugal and Spain, most likely Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, people are going for a siesta, right? But that was years on the making. That just didn't happen. Try to apply this here in UK. That's not going to go down well.
I think it probably would. It'd go down well with the employees. But you're right. It's not culture until everybody believes in it and everyone does it.
Exactly. When it becomes part of who you are, your essence. So that's why it's also important when coming in with all these methodologies and that's why it needs to be tailored to each customer, is that trying to understand the existing culture that company has or that individual has, then trying to understand what is it that we're trying to achieve, merge it and create something new. Because if you just try to put something like a lid on top of it, it's not going to work.
You just compound it, don't you? Just compound a toxic culture. You compound it and you don't make it any better.
Exactly.
My yardstick personally for creating a continuous improvement culture is, if I walked away from this organization today, would this continue to thrive, grow and be what it is? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. In fact, I don't think I've ever been able to say, if I walk away right now, this will continue as it was. Sometimes it has continued, the embers have burned, but it's chopped and changed. It's then been, influenced by leaders that don't really understand lean culture. So it becomes more of a project environment. But I think unless you can walk away and that organization would continue to thrive, it's not part of your culture.
From my own experience, what I have watched and observed at Toyota when I was in Japan, the reason why they were able to maintain that culture is that the moment they said, I'm committed to this, didn't matter what else came in, they were committed to this for the long term. So what I found here in the healthcare system is that whatever is quite new and hot, or whatever new top leader comes in, says, oh, this is going to work, they're going to bring the new methodology. So by the time everyone gets used to a certain way of doing things, a certain values culture, everything needs to be changed again. And that's why sometimes it's really hard to create the culture, because it keeps changing. And that's why there's actually a saying in NHS where the only thing that keeps changing is change. I think that's the one. So basically there's constant change everywhere. And at the time I didn't realize or understood what it meant, but every 3-5 years, there's a new cycle in an NHS. There's new mentality. And that disruption is really difficult for companies and even private companies. Johnson & Johnson was the same thing. So every 5 years, there's a new cycle. And what I did found quite amazing within Toyota is that they were committed, didn't matter what else came in, until the end. They stuck by it. And perhaps that's why the culture is so strong with it. They literally live and breathe it because they were committed for the long term.
It is how we do things, and that's it.
Yeah.
Talking of doing things, the time has come for you to take on the... Look at your face!
I know what it is. I'm already dreading it.
Do you know, I was thinking the other day about changing the Yes No game to a new game. I've got an idea. I know, but I don't know how people will react to it.
Do you know how much I've listened to all your podcasts, and on this part it's like, I'm gonna fail. Like this quick answer, yes, I'm gonna fail.
I failed, and I do it all the time. It's really hard. So you're an expert. You know how this works, right? So I'm gonna give you 60 seconds, and I'm gonna fire questions at you. And your task is simply just not to say yes or no during that period.
Does that apply also if I said yes or no in Portuguese or Spanish? I mean,
you got me now, because I know it in Spanish.
I want to know the rules.
Yeah, don't do that. So you've got card number 1, card number 2, and card number 3. Now, each of these has a different topic involved of what we will talk about. It doesn't really make any difference, really, but it gives you some control. You see what I've done there? I've given you a little bit of a decision to make. So which you want, 1, 2, or 3?
So not much resistance from my side now, right? Okay, 3.
Card number 3. Let's have a look. Card number 3 is quirky questions. Doesn't really narrow it down, does it?
No.
Quirky questions. So I have a number. I like some of these. Oh, I like some of these. These are good. So these are really good questions. Yeah. Right. So hopefully we'll get a few of these in because some of these are real corkers. I'm looking forward to this. So you're going to hear the music play. It's going to make you really clammy and really nervous. And then if you hear the gong, that means you went wrong. If you don't hear the gong and you hear cheering and clapping, that means you lasted the full 60 seconds and you are a yes-no champion.
Gosh, I actually feel like I'm feeling quite sweaty now.
You look quite nervous. Are you ready?
I guess, yes.
Right, here we go. It's the yes-no game. It's Yolanda's time. She's very excited, I can see by her face. It's time to get into the flow. Just don't say yes or no. Have you ever pretended to know what someone was talking about just to avoid the awkwardness?
Sometimes.
Name something that's older than you.
My mum.
Your mum. Are you sure she's older than you?
Who?
Your mum. Is she older than you?
She's older than me.
If you could instantly master any skill, what would it be?
I cannot even hear the question now anymore.
Have you ever been a guest on a podcast but instantly regretted it?
We'll see after today.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever Googled something whilst pretending you already knew about it?
I know everything. I'm joking now.
You know
That didn't sound
everything?
very humble. That didn't sound humble.
You know absolutely everything. That's terrible.
I can even respond that now.
What's your I should love this, but I don't? Oh, you've done it. Don't worry about it. You've done it.
I have to say, me adding more questions or repeat that helped me out. So good strategy there.
I did cotton on to your strategy. I did see what you were doing in there. Yeah, it's very interesting for me seeing how people cope with it because you get some that will repeat the question, you get some that will add questions in, some that will just answer the same answer the whole way through, and they're in a trance where they're trying desperately not to do it.
I have to say, there was one question that you even repeated about the tools or so. I have no idea what you asked. My mind just went blank. I was like, I have no idea, but I cannot say yes or no.
Yeah, that's like me when I go through the American passport control, and it's just horrendous. They ask me questions. They go, "Why are you here?" And I go, "Oh, for work." And they go, "What work?" And I go, "I'm doing a workshop." What type of workshop? And I go, "Oh, on continuous improvement." They go, "Are you a process engineer?" And I go, "Yes." And I go, "No, I'm not a process engineer." No, and they're looking at me like, "Oh, really? He's lied. Get him out the back." Get him out. Let's just get this panic.
Have you ever went to Abu Dhabi or anything like that? So, yeah, so that's how I got scared. So as part of the APM terminals, we were sent over and I was the only woman in the group. And it got to the point because we all the different type of passports. So me and the other guy, we went into one of the aisle, but we couldn't go together. And the man kept asking me questions. And me being naive and quite young, I didn't know that I could not wear a dress. It wasn't revealing. It was literally around the knees and it was all covered. But I had my hair down. I started feeling everyone looking at me and asking me loads of questions. I literally, as I came out, I just texted my colleagues, please come and help me. I feel really unsafe here. And they didn't do anything, but the staring, like the question after the question. I felt like I've done something. And I was by myself. Yeah. And I was around 25 or 24 years old. Yeah, I was like, no one's going to leave my side here. That's it. I'm staying. You guys are staying next to me. I was the youngest and the only woman. I was like, yep, nope, I'm not doing this anymore.
Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Well, don't worry. I'm not wearing a dress or a skirt right now. There's no rules on this show.
Scottish.
All right? No, I'm not Scottish. I've had, are you Australian? I get that quite a lot. Are you Australian? No, I'm not Australian. I'd love to be Australian, but I'm not. So, right, what are we going to do? Well, I'm going to ask you, where can we go to learn more about, if people listening now want to learn more about you and what you're doing, where can they go to do that?
So I have my website and LinkedIn. I think those are the two best places to reach out. What would you suggest, actually? And I didn't think about this part.
Yeah, I would go with both. I think there are both really good ways of getting a hold of you. I wouldn't bother putting your Tinder on there or anything like that because this is not that kind of show.
My partner would definitely divorce me straight away. Like, Tinder?
Yeah, Tinder. Yeah, don't put that on there. Or Grindr. Don't put any of them on there. I'll put those two links in the show notes below so people can click on and see about the stuff you're doing and see your consultancy and stuff. I've seen some of the posts that you've done in the past of the workshops that you've been running with the NHS and that, and the people always look really engaged and look like really good fun sessions.
Chocolates and stuff like that. So
I have seen the odd chocolate floating around. Right, lovely. Thank you so much for coming on. You've been an absolute superstar. It's been good fun. So the key takeaways from today's discussion with Iolanda: people first, always. Continuous improvement isn't about tools or processes. I say it a lot, but it's true. It's about people. Respect, empathy, and trust are the foundations of any lasting change in any industry. Culture can't be trained. You don't create a CI culture by running a course. It grows over time through consistent leadership, day-to-day behaviours, and a shared sense of purpose. As a leader, it's your role to create that sense of purpose and make sure everybody is aware of it and get everybody pointing in the same direction. It's not easy, it is tough, but it's worth doing in the long run. Real change needs real improvement. Change works best when people help shape it. Mandating it doesn't stick. Involvement, ownership, and relevance do. Communication needs to be targeted and ongoing. One-size-fits-all messaging, quite literally, doesn't fit all. Tailor it, keep it human, and don't stop communicating once the project's live. That's how trust and momentum are maintained. Keep people informed. Keep the information flowing. Create that flow, if you like. Just keep everybody informed. Even if nothing's happened or very little has changed, make sure people are aware of it. Talk about why. Talk about what you need to do differently going forward. Ask their opinion and for their inputs. Leadership is a mindset, not a job title. Everyone has a role to play in making improvement happen. The most effective cultures I've seen developed leadership at every level, not just at the top. Now, Iolanda spoke about it really well earlier. Everybody in the organisation should have a leadership mindset. They should think like a leader, coach people on that, help people with that. If everyone thinks like a leader, you gain some momentum and things start to move really, really well. And lastly, sustainment takes commitment. Without long-term focus and consistency, change just fades. It does. The goal isn't just implementation. It's building something that thrives, even when you're not there. All right, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Ever Celine podcast. A huge thank you to Iolanda for sharing her invaluable insights on leadership, transformation, and operational excellence. If you're looking for more inspiration and guidance to drive performance in your organisation, head over to everceline.com. There you'll discover our tailored leadership and operational excellence coaching, consultancy services, accredited training programs, hands-on workshops, and inspirational keynote talks, all designed to empower you and your teams to build a bridge to high performance. Your support truly makes a difference. Please subscribe, like, and review the podcast on your preferred platform to help us reach more forward-thinking leaders. Remember, where people thrive, performance follows. The Ever Celine podcast is researched, produced, and recorded by Matt Sims. Visit everceline.com to find out more.